Now as I signed off minutes ago, um, I have come across what is it? Security and Exchange Commission. SEC charges 4 underwriters in first action for enforcing municipal bond disclosure law. I'm not going to read this whole article. Security and Exchange Commission versus Oppenheimer and Company. It's on the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission internet site. I, I, the reason I want to talk about this is because of firsthand information. I have kind of come to a few theories about different large banks. The US dollar used to be backed by gold, okay? And recently, as in when I say recently, the past like 4 or 5 years, someone somewhere along the line said to me that told me that the US dollar is no longer backed by gold. I don't know if that's true or not. I know that as is trying to emerge, um, the that there's so much up in the air as far as I don't like the word currency, money is concerned, and the different words in that. It gets overwhelming and frustrating because when you're trying to maintain yourself and your own innocence and to not be associated with the activities that I've talked about uh, many times. The the article against Oppenheimer funds is interesting to me. An effort, and I hope that it is uh, uh, um I say here without like within my actual knowledge base in a confidence of which I can confidently state something that I see. Um, in other words, I'm not backpedaling. I just confidence of my own testing of my own theories, testing and research and all that. So what I'll say is my suspicion is, or my theory is, that Oppenheimer is primarily backed by the diamond industry, simply because of little things I, I find along the and it might be other things too, but I've researched the diamond industry for several reasons. And initially it only came to my mind because of sort of an indirect I'm going to go to the library, see if what interesting I can find to watch, and I've never been someone who has I I never really spend a lot of time frivolous entertainment. I never really have. Um So on the shelf at I think it was the Harford Community Library, Harford Community College, where I graduated from in 2005. Um, there was on the shelf, what drew my attention, the documentary about uh the Diamond Cartel, De Beers. And I remember when I was, so this is why I have an inkling that Oppenheimer funds historically or initially was primarily uh, backed by uh, diamonds. Um, and of course, there's the whole diamond cart. Uh, and again, the value of a diamond when women are wearing diamonds as jewelry, uh, and they know and they have a conscious awareness of the whole um, blood diamond controversy. Now, what really take that whole thing, that whole it's a violent industry, and just like of really ugly violence. Um, because of my interests as a child in the pyramids and my land ownership rights that I've come across that might be true because of my experiences that I've had that I never dreamed that I could have, that I might be have a lot more financial um I don't want to say worth a lot more money than I could have ever imagined. Um but the events in my life and how things have played out in my life, and uh it all sort of points to that being very possibly factual information, as far as me having seriously a lot more money than I've ever been made aware of. Um, Oppenheimer funds is mentioned in the De Beers documentary, which I can't. Uh, I'll have to see if I can find the documentary while I'm talking about this. The as in Oppenheimer's the only bank system that is mentioned in the documentary. So it leads a person to believe that uh, diamonds are primarily, or at least initially, and very possibly to this day, the primary backing of Oppenheimer funds as far as what their baseline interest is. Um, but to realize and within the documentary, it is it's also talked about um, how diamonds are used or were used in weaponry. And then the fact that Oppenheimer created the atom bomb and all that, I think is such questionable uh, business activity for mainly the two cultures that are involved. And I feel like even to this day, I'm in the middle of it. And I've talked about also that the whole World War II thing and the atom bomb, it emerges it, right now. It's like World War II won't go away out of my life. Um, and it's really upsetting. And the number of subliminal messages that we receive, not just myself, but other not as aware people who are in, who are shopping on a regular basis, and and not aware of the Nobel Peace Prize and the Nobel Peace Prize funds and the amount of money that Oppenheimer received as a Nobel Peace Prize for that time period is a huge, and to then realize and start questioning the ill stewardship of Oppenheimer as an individual and as a financial organization, and for so many decades, um it is really, when it comes right down to it, is really kind of upsetting. And again, I'm not a mercenary here. I'm involved because I've been made to be involved, because I'm targeted as uh, I'm targeted and labeled as a Nazi, which I'm not, and never have been. I would not ever consider Hitler to be a desirable um, anything. Um, um, so the issue of World War II is still emerging, and and I don't like being uh, the person who's and again, and it comes back to what I've talked about before: information from eras before, um, eh, eh, that those issues, that those people who were all involved have yet to resolve the issues. And so those issues get piled onto us, more youthful uh, persons. And at 58 years old, here in 2023, getting ready to be 59, I'm really tired of fighting battles of people who have yet. And again, it comes back to even what I was just talking about with the Kenny Rogers thing. And again, I'm not looking to scapegoat Kenny Rogers and his people. I don't believe in scapegoating. It's a very widely used practice also. And because I'm such a victim of scapegoating, I don't want to see, regardless of their guilt, I want the older generations to understand and have a desire and a drive and an interest in not trying to bury their those issues in the younger generations, the way I see and know was done to me, the way I can see and know that it's was done to my first daughter. um I didn't see it at the time, and during the process of that same thing being done to my daughter, and possibly my 15-year-old children. I just want these older generations to understand that they need to have and hold themselves accountable, not keep dumping the issues, because war is not a good way to stimulate an economy. That was something I've talked about before in a history class. I can't remember if it was my civics class in which high school teacher in 1978 through 82 said the words in front of the classroom and to us as students that war stimulates the economy. And I remember thinking to myself at the time that that just does not seem it seems counterintuitive to me, or at least and should and should be to a lot of to everyone actually. And because of the issue of the atom bomb and the uh and World War II and the two uh cultures of people who were affected by that, mostly, and the Japanese. And again, I know that it is a very confusing issue. It's not mine to resolve, but here I am. Um, um, doing the best that I can to turn things around for younger generations, for future generations. Um, and to hold Oppenheimer and the Nobel Peace Prize people, because to me it is very counterintuitive, and what that created in saying, okay, here, Mr. Oppenheimer, here's $1 million. It's what year is it? Because $1 million in the year that he received, and I feel like I'm kind of pulling that figure out of the air, but whatever the figure was, the cash award for a Nobel Peace Prize was a huge amount of money for that time period. It would be, I would say, like winning $100 million these days in 2023. A lot of money to be in stewardship of, in the name of war and death and mass destruction, and therefore there's a lot of accountability that Oppenheimer and the Security Exchange Commission should take a look at, in as people become more aware of, yeah, wait a minute, why did he get so much money? Um, uh, to it, it's healthy logic to question why Oppenheimer was awarded a Nobel Peace Prize for such destruction, and to realize that waves of that destruction on so many levels are, it's still coming in waves. And even to ask the question as to whether the waves of nuclear waste, and how that expulsion of energy is still maybe still affecting the human population in waves. And I think that again, that I'm making a very logical and reasonable point in such a regard. And then the other part in that, World War II just won't go away. It's still emerging. Um, and World War II is still being used as a way for people to to engage in negative um um i- in negative economic drive. Um and believe it or not, even the fact that my birthstone is a diamond, I'm affected by even that smallest, what seems like a very small, um, but it isn't. It isn't as small as it's the same. It's similar to being embedded in the information technology, in pornographic media by a man, by via being raised under the roof of a man who was developing a personal computer at the same time Bill Gates and what's his face was. I'm sorry, I can never I never Steve Jobs. Um World War II is it's got there's got to be and for this uh charge against Oppenheimer funds, it seems like a very small thing, but I believe um that Oppenheimer should be looked at, and class action lawsuits against Oppenheimer should become bigger and bigger and bigger, for the simple fact that I'm not supporting Chase Manhattan in this, because I see stuff in Chase Manhattan that that I am in opposition to, but haven't done as much research. Uh, but that financial institution affects me personally also. Um, but to draw or draw interest into um class action lawsuits against Oppenheimer for what I've just talked about, I think is a healthy, logical um question to raise. Um and again, it aligns with me and my personal interests in helping youth to become aware and empowering youth to be able to be part of a more non-corrupt and a more healthy, logical financial system, um, which doesn't include awarding huge amounts of money to uh, via a Nobel Peace Prize, um, to such an illogical, uh, and again, I like the terminology stewardship of money, um, in regard to the issue I am purposefully intending to bring attention to. Um, and so I'd like to thank the U.S. Security Exchange Security Commission and Exchange I don't want to say it wrong, for what this article that I found, but I would like to see them delve even further into a more not so sweep under the rug, kind of take the lesser charge, because um I, for one, am tired of dealing with World War II issues. And I, for one, am tired of going to stores and seeing subliminal messages of the activities of World War II. And and I'm just looking at because I don't want to get the um obviously I'm not good at acronyms. So the SEC, the US Security and Exchange Commission, and it's, again, the article is titled SEC charges for underwriters in first actions enforcing municipal bond disclosure law. I don't even know what a municipal bond disclosure law is about. I would again, I think that the bigger issue is stewardship of money, and putting an end to the whole concept of being told that war stimulates economy. Um, that's obviously a comment that Oppenheimer ran with, and to create a new concept of drive of economy to be in a more peaceful existence among uh, in I'm going to end what I'm saying there because I'm beginning to stutter. So I'm being affected emotionally by what I'm talking about right now. I want to actually end because I was trying to find um to understand and comprehend the full implications of stewardship of money um is important for ending economies on all levels that have conducted themselves uh from a level of